We're here with Craig Schulman today on Luncheon with the Stars and SecretsToBroadway.com, right here at Tanner Smith's at 204 West 55th Street in downtown Manhattan. And we have a secret to start right off with. Craig Schulman has done more Valjeans than probably anyone else in the world, having done over 2,000 of them. And if you've seen the Les Miserables in the original run that they had between 1987 through 2003, 2004, 2003, you probably saw Craig in the title role as Jean Valjean. And so, welcome, Craig.
Thanks, Joe.
And it's really great to have you here. And I just wanted to also talk about what we have here in front of us, which is an absolutely delightful thing. It's called the Brunch Cocktails, and it's the bourbon tea brunch that we're having right now, which is an Old Forester bourbon with Benedictine, orange blossom water, habanero shrub, cane sugar, freshly squeezed lime juice with green tea. And it is delicious.
Phenomenal.
You've got to have it.
You've never had anything quite like this.
It's superb. So, and I just love the way it's prepared and served with a beautiful round ice cube, and the china is just beautiful. So, anyway, here we are. You've had such a great, illustrious career on Broadway. In such shows as Les Miserables, and you've also done Jekyll and Hyde, and we did that show together as well.
Right.
And you also had the, did you do Phantom of the Opera?
I did Phantom of the Opera. Not here in New York, on one of the national tours.
Oh, okay.
First national.
So how awesome is that? So we got to do all of those blockbuster roles, which is everybody in the business would die to do that. So. Actually, in doing those roles, you feel like sometimes you do die because they are demanding roles.
Yes, they are. But I come from a background as an opera singer, and so I've never been afraid of the magnitude of those roles in terms of just pure singing.
Right.
In fact, I did my first Hoffmann and Tales of Hoffmann. Right before I got cast in the national tour of Les Mis when I first started out.
Right.
And I felt if anything could have prepared me for that, if anything could.
Yeah. Well, no, that
was a great sort of foundation for that.
Yeah.
Took away some of the fear. Although I have to say, the first time I went on as understudy in Boston, that I was seriously considering going in the restroom and sticking my finger down my throat. I was so scared. I was nauseous.
Yeah.
I was afraid I was going to lose it on stage.
You know what? That's exactly how it feels like. It's just like there's the show that starts up and it starts going, and you go from point A to point Z without stopping. I mean, were you there when? I'm not sure. At Jekyll and Hyde, a lot of people that came in as stars, who were in the movies and also on television, who were able to do their thing, hit their marks, and stop, and then go out and have a cigarette, that type of thing. But this is really something that you start from the beginning and go all the way through to the end, and it really is. It's nonstop, as a Valjean or a Phantom of the Opera, for example. A lot of people sit there and say, Phantom, Norm Lewis and James Barber that we just had on Luncheon with the Stars said it was one of the most demanding roles.
Absolutely. I used to be, when I was doing Valjean, people would say, oh my God, Valjean's on stage, 3/4 of the show. But Phantom, he's only on there like 20 minutes altogether, and I'm kind of poo-pooing like, oh, whatever. But then when I actually got to do the role, I think the difference is that Valjean, I found it is a very grounded character. And I found it very easy to play that role. It came very naturally to me. Phantom is just such an interesting character. He's crazy.
Which they were going typecasting for that, right?
Absolutely. Was much more intense in some ways.
Right.
And I had to work a lot harder to figure out how to make it work as an actor.
You did a wonderful thing, which I wanted to bring to the fore here, is that you had a person who's always helped you out in a particular way, or done things for you, and you went out there to do Jean Valjean for them, for the high school. Was it the high school? Or
It was in. Here's an edit for you. El Dorado, Arkansas.
El Dorado, Arkansas.
Yeehaw. And lovely people.
Yeah, absolutely.
But a very isolated community, and they had sort of evolved their own way of doing a show, and it had become more of a social occasion. And I had done, there's actually a small orchestra there, which I have done a number of concerts for in connection with the Shreveport, Louisiana Symphony. And the conductor there also conducts the El Dorado thing, and at one point we started piggybacking concerts in El Dorado on the Shreveport concerts. And so they asked me for a favor. Would I, they wanted to do this production of Les Mis, and would I consider doing Valjean? And I thought, they've been very good to me over the years, and so I said sure, and I would always jump at a chance to play the role again.
Of course.
And I wound up, through a series of events, becoming the director as well, and it was quite a challenge, but great. I mean, because I was an original member of the first national tour, and we rehearsed in New York for 7 weeks before we went out. We got sort of the same treatment that the Broadway company had gotten, which was the Royal Shakespeare Company rehearsal period.
Exactly.
And so I have a lot of knowledge about the show, which is fortunate because other people have come in and joined a company, and you rehearse for a week or two and then you're in the show. But it's all about getting on the stage and finding your place.
You'll get some of those stories, you'll get some of that information from the stage manager, but really it's all about getting you in the show and up and running.
Right.
Yeah.
And so as a teacher and as a director, for me to be able to share that with people, and to be able to tell them, well, you've seen this staging before, and this is why it is the way it is.
Right.
It represents something. And so that was very educational and edifying to the cast.
But if you had never seen Les Mis before, from what I understand, the show that's playing now at the Imperial Theater, Our Old Digs, is actually beautiful and wonderful as well, and we encourage you to go and see the show. It's definitely one of the best shows ever written in musical theater history.
In terms of its emotional power,
Yeah.
and I've had the privilege of directing it several times.
Right.
And I always start off in my talk with the cast that if you invest in this show, it has the power to change your life.
Oh, it does.
And I actually did. I got a letter from one of the kids in the production that I did in Arkansas about a year later.
And he turned into Thenardier.
No, but he wrote and said how it had changed his life, and how he looked at things differently now that he had done the show. And he appreciated his life and his parents and his family, and and I was very touching to get something like that.
Yeah. I was talking to Mary Guzzi when we had her on Luncheon with the Stars, and in '89 we were at the Broadway, and then we went to the Imperial.
I was there during that transition.
Yeah, and you remember the Berlin Wall came down, that barricade fell, and also Tiananmen Square happened, and we were up there. And I remember, was it Gary Lynch or John Norman Thomas, who was just throwing that red flag back and forth, and we were screaming Tiananmen Square. It was very exciting, and that's life changing. That's monumental in your career. There's nothing like the Broadway scene. And what do you love about it, Craig?
I love the sense of community. A lot of my career has been doing concerts, Broadway Pops concerts, mostly with symphonies, but and one of the things that I miss about, and I love doing that, but one of the things that I miss is that, especially when I do a solo show, it's a very solitary pursuit. You go and you do this, and sometimes I do a duet concert or trio concert, but you miss the sense of community that a show brings.
Right.
I'm just out there on my own, and I'm loving what I'm doing, but I'm not sharing it with anybody. And the sense, again, there's no one to talk to.
Well, poor me.
Poor me.
But it was it's the smallest violin in the world,
And it's playing for you.
No, we had such a great time in our shows together. It was just, and they really do become family. The Broadway scene too is just it's the electricity of everything. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for playing Mother, Craig. We just had the most spectacular lunch here at Tanner Smith's, 204 West 55th Street in New York City, right in the theater district of Manhattan. And why is it so good? Well, because the sandwiches. How about the eggplant
Oh
chips?
my God,
Was
eggplant
that
chips? Phenomenal.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable. And we had the deviled egg, and our videographer loved that. She likes the hot and spicy. It's just a different take on deviled eggs, and they were phenomenal. But my sandwich, the steak sandwich, was so wonderful. It was just so melt in your mouth. It was incredible,
And I had the lamb burger.
Oh, that was
Oh my
awesome.
God, awesome.
And you
Awesome.
also got to eat the other half of
Oh yes, that's right.
right, of the
And
Reuben
half
sandwich.
of the Reuben, which is
Yeah.
great. They actually brine their own meat. for
Oh,
the-
they do.
Yeah.
Oh, that is it's an amazing place. It's been here for 1 year, but you really have to come and partake. We're down in the cellar portion of it that was actually made with limestone that came from Central Park quarries when they were doing that way back when. So it's a real walk into history. Anyway, Craig, I was just wanting to also talk about, the energy that we were talking about going into the Broadway scene, walking to your Broadway show, just feeling the excitement of people talking about Broadway and what they're going to see that evening. It's a very heady experience. And I know, too, is that the great thing that you're doing is you're teaching right now. Where is that?
I teach an acting class, excuse me, and I've directed a couple of shows there as well. At Sacred Heart University up in Fairfield, Connecticut. We have a small department that's growing. We just got a theater major approved by the state of Connecticut,
Great.
and it's growing by leaps and bounds. I teach voice privately, and have a number of studios around in the city, and in Harrison, New York, and Armonk, New York, as well as out of my home.
So you got a few things going on.
few things going. I got a couple.
No slouch this Valjean.
I'm telling you, a few concerts coming up, and I'm really excited. I'm going to be doing King Arthur in a concert version of Camelot in the fall.
Oh,
It's a role
run,
I-
boy, run! That's one of the most chilling endings of a Broadway show. Is that ending is just fantastic, and that's really how I got to listen to. I guess catch the bug of musical theater is that my folks brought home musical theater albums, and that was a real favorite of mine. Was listening to Camelot.
Camelot. I think mine
With-
was
yes.
West Side Story.
Yeah, well, West Side was also mine, and those are the attachments. And the first show I ever saw was in a town in Millinocket, Maine, where they played My Fair Lady. And I must have been 10 or 11 years old at the time. But I thought that was something. Those guys were up there singing and acting. It looked like so much fun. And if you can, walk through life, the path of life in your years on this planet, and do what you love to do, which is what we have done.
That's
And
right.
I feel very, very privileged. And I think that's excellent that you get a chance to teach that, and you've really grown your business that way too. We have ATC Studios. It's now 26 years old, and we have a Tony Award-winning actress, Nina Arianda, who has done very well. But we've launched thousands of careers over those many years that we've been in business. And all kudos to my wife, Kathleen Calais, who's the artistic director of that. So we're here with Craig Schulman, at Tanner Smith's, 204 West 55th Street in Midtown Manhattan. And we just had the most wonderful lunch here, and we asked for you to call them right now for your reservations. Tanner Smith's, 204 West 55th Street. Have a great day.
Promotional consideration furnished by Tanner Smith's, featuring a main bar styled as an early 20th century New York drinking house. Nestled below the main level of Tanner Smith's is a subterranean lower space dating back to the 1900s. Tanner Smith's, 204 West 55th Street in New York, 646-590-2034.